Okay, this video is going to be on the 2005 Scion XB. It's got a 1.5. We're going to do the front brakes. Now, tell you straight off, I'm not wearing a shirt. It's hot out and everything else, so if you don't want to watch the video, you don't like the way I'm dressed, don't watch the video. There's a lot of people in here, they get upset the way people are dressed and all. Let me get the keys. Don't lock it. We're gonna do an oil change too. I might show you. I can show you that too. All right, it's unlocked. What we're gonna do is actually start the vehicle up. You'll want to start your vehicle up if you haven't drove it in a little while. I drove this earlier today, and then you don't have to use this fancy impact, this cordless. But since we got it, we're going to use it. It's a lot easier to take the lugs off with this. And I'm just going to take 2 lugs off right now. I'll take the key. It's still sitting on its own weight. This all can be done with a lug wrench and everything else. Alright. Now while it's running, I brought lugs over, didn't need to. I'm gonna put this in on these scions, and right behind this tire, there's a big main bolt that holds part of the carriage in. If you go right on that bolt, you can pick the whole car up if you want, but you don't have to. It's safer if you do one side at a time. Pick it up. And the engine's on that side, so it ain't gonna hurt because it's still running. Because the oil is still good. It ain't pulling the oil out. Alright, I'm gonna shut it off because that should be enough for it to be running. The only reason I started is to get the oil a little warm so it'll come out easy when we do our oil change. And you do need this off the ground to do the oil change. I'm going to go ahead and take them 2 lugs back over there so I don't forget them. And your lugs probably will not look like mine. These are aftermarket lugs. I just like this better. It's a solid lug. It's one chunk. So, first thing we're going to do, a lot of people would get in here and just take these 2 bolts, these bolts right here out, top and bottom, and start tearing that apart. We're not going to do that. Since my brakes are almost worn completely out, I'm going to get in here and go in between the brake and the rotor, and I'm going to grab And I'm going to grab like that and I'm going to pull my way, which is going to decompress or compress the part right here for your brake caliper. And all it's going to do is shove it over. Enough where you can get it apart. As you can see, it's working. See how far the screwdriver's coming out? And I'm not pulling hard because I don't want to do any damage. Actually, look, I can do it with 2 fingers. But I do it with all my hand. That way I get a better bite. But you can see how loose it is already. And a lot of times, put that back over there. And you can see the screwdriver sticking out. A lot of times when you do that, you can almost not even have to press that in. Now since working on these cars a lot, and the newer cars, even the Fords are doing this. Ford, Chevy, stuff. They're going to metric, so I just went ahead and grabbed metric. One of them fell off. And looking at that, I think that is a 12. It's been a while. And I was wrong. Let's see. It's even bigger than that. I thought on my gray car it was a 12. It's actually a 14 millimeter. I'm going to see it. I haven't changed the brakes since I got this. I'm going to see if I can loosen up like if with this. If not, I'm going to go get a wrench. And I'm just tapping up with my hand to break it loose. That's all I did. As you've seen that. I'm going to leave that loose and we'll leave it in there. Because I don't want to start tapping it on the bottom one and then it start moving and mess the threads up. So what you want to do is make right is tight, left is loose. It'd be out this difference if it was on the outside. On the inside, you got to do that. And you seen how I just tapped it? You can make yourself get a clothes hanger. A metal clothes hanger. Let me put that out there. A lot of people will say clothes hanger. And you can see how good the bolts are. If you put a little anti-seize on them, it won't hurt. Then take your brake caliper, set that up there where it's not going to fall. You don't want that falls, you can break that line. I'll take my screwdriver lightly in here and pulling them out. You can see how thin they were getting. And this is the time you want to check and see if you need anything in your way. This is the time you want to check and see if there's anything wrong with your rotor. Let me bring you down here a little bit because I can't get my sand any shorter. And the rotor all looks good. Now you see these little marks, these stopping marks? That's just because of dust. Every time you stop, if I actually take this, you can see stuff falling off of it. And this one right here, it's got a squealer on it. When it gets so far down, it's actually supposed to hit that squealer. But if you look, that squealer's right on with that metal. If it'd be me, as a manufacturer, I'd make that squealer up higher. But you can see, they're pretty well shot. Now, the pieces they ride on, you'll get them new, but sometimes you don't have to switch them. And sometimes you don't get them. If you get the real cheap ones, you don't. Now these are cheaper. These are Napa. And if you're ex-military or anything like, or military, usually get like 10%. So that helps out. Here's the new ones. We'll switch them to show you. And you're going to want to make sure to look at your pads and make sure they're the same. They are made different. They're the same size, but you can see it looks like they're made different, but they ain't, because it's got a curve here. Just when it gets down further, it makes it more of a bite. And I can see a little mark on there, so I don't feel anything. Now these rotors will need to be changed. You can see a slight lip. So next time we'll be putting rotors on. Then make sure that you put your squealer, whatever side it came off, that side you want to go back on. And do one side at a time in case you screw up. Then you can take the other side off and look. That's for back brakes, everything. Now I usually don't change these, but I'm going to change them for you guys' preference. They're usually exactly identical. And they are. They just pop out. That's all they do. Pop out. Then just set them down the same way they came out. So if you set them down like that, that was on the bottom, that's on top, you know which way it's going to go back in. So you can look at this one saying that goes on top. Most anybody can do this. It just takes a little time, and you got to have patience. If you don't got patience, don't try it. It can drive you crazy on the back brakes. The front brakes ain't that hard. And see, this one's not fitting properly. The back side did, but the front side, it hasn't snapped in there yet. There it goes. You want to make sure they're all the way up. On these, they got a little piece here, and that's what's pushing on this. Let me show you. It's pushing on here, right in here, so you want to make sure that's nice and clean, which mine was. Snap that front end, take your finger and pull back a little bit usually. Snap them in there. I'm using a screwdriver to make sure it's all the way in. You don't have to. This one ain't, I can tell. I might have to use a screwdriver on that one. Just by the feel of it. You've seen it, I don't know, you probably seen my big fat head, but it slid. You want to make sure it's all the way tight. And if you have to, let me move back out here, what you can do, because you know your old brake shoes fit, take one of your old brake shoes before you put the new ones on. They ain't gonna hurt nothing. And then you can wiggle it in there. If you can wiggle it in there to see if it fits. And that's gonna fit, see? So you know you did it right. Now, just remember what you did. My squealer was on the back, so the squealer's going on the back. There that is. And make sure they are going to a circle. And that's it. And then you want to get caliper grease. I'll go get some. It's called brake grease. And you don't need a lot, because you need it mostly where the circle, let me show you. Don't put tons of it on there because it could get on your brakes. Where the circle is right here and these two ends. So if you set it up here gently, and it's a good time to check out your all your other brake parts with the rubber looks good and everything. What I like to do, if you don't mind getting a little dirty, put it on your finger. Make sure you get it on there. Just on the part that you need it on. Alright. Got that? Then I'm gonna got everything else sticking. Because you can always clean up. If you just take this and just smash it on there, you'll never know. And then right here, remember? Right here. That's where your brake, this takes care of the squealing. Then we're gonna make sure that's rubbed good. Clean my hand on the grass a little bit, ain't gonna hurt nothing. This so it's on there. Now, since you did that little trick, shoved it in there. And when you do that, make sure you're over on, try to grab it over on this side of the pad. You don't want to push against this too much. And if you can't, I can show you on the next one another way to do it. And it goes right on. These look like they came out pretty good, so I'm not gonna, they look like they're coated pretty good, so I'm not gonna put anything on them. You can put aniseeds, it's called. You get it at Walmart, you can get that at Walmart. It comes in a little tub or whatever. It's gray. I can show you. Then, you seen how tight I had it. This is one of the reasons or how tight it was. This is one of the reasons I do this. A lot of people are like, what? Why don't you do this, do that? You should use a torque wrench. You can't, I don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, or a little teeny torque wrench. But you seen how hard I had to hit it to take it off. This is me. Now, I ain't saying you should do this, but all I'm doing is a tapping motion, not hard. Making sure that bolt is tight and seated. That bolt won't move. It ain't that. The only thing that's moving on here is this is sliding. The bolt ain't turning. So let's see if we can get the other one done here. And there it is. And that's all you do. That simple, guys. Another trick I'm going to show you real quick. This really comes in handy for a lot of people. Is when you're putting your tire back on. Oh, a lot of people say, I can put my tire on quick, whatever. I can't line that up. See, because it's locked in gear. Now, if it's in neutral, you can move it. So what you do, you know that's cocked that way just a hair. So if you put your tire that way, and you can put your foot under here. This is a small tire, and see I'm picking it up with my foot. And put it right near it, press it on. Easy as that, guys. Now these are made to take off lugs, and they can put them on, but if you're going to tighten it with one of these, use torque sticks. I'm just going to snug it. Snugging it. That's all I'm doing. I'll come back to torque wrench. So, that's all I did. We're going to come over to the other side. We'll grab the other jack. A lot of people don't have more than one jack. I'm just, I guess, lucky, or I don't know that I have another jack. All these mainly these tools that I use are Harbor Freight. This little jack I'm using here, it's a 1.5 ton, real light to use. And 1.5 ton is actually 3,000 pounds. Pick it up high enough. That's it. You don't have to have it way up in the air. The higher you have it in the air, the more chance of having an accident. And if you're going to put it up high enough where you got to crawl under it, make sure you put blocks, jack stands, even your tire. Shove your tire under it. Anything if you have to crawl under it. You want to be safety. Safety first. This little car looks light, but it's really heavy. Wouldn't take much to do some damage to someone. Alright. Now, on this one, I'm going to show you that other trick. I'm going to go ahead and still loosen it up a little bit like I did, but not all the way. That's all. That's all I'm doing on this one. Then I'm going to show you, they sell a tool out there that's made just for this. My opinion, if you don't know what you're doing, it's good to get, but if you know a little bit about mechanics, don't need it. You can make one too if you really want to, but and you see I'm just hitting with my hand, so, and look at, I'm not that huge, so it's not extra tight. They shouldn't be. Now this still couldn't come off easy, but there's no way I could put it right back on. See, it's going to come off, but if you notice, I'm going to bring you over here, how far that's sticking out. I'm going to show you a trick, easy trick a lot of people already know to put that back. You see, they were getting thin. And see, that one just started hitting the squealer. But I don't feel nothing grinding, no marks. So it's got a little lip, but that'll be alright. Don't let a mechanic tell you that little lip that you need, move back, that little lip that you need brand new rotors and all. You don't. You can go to Harbor Freight, you can go to the dollar store, you can go a lot of places and get this next tool that I'm going to show you. It's called a C-clamp. See? And then you just clamp it. Probably had them in wood shop. And if you're careful, remember that line, you don't want to do any damage on. What you're going to do is come back on the back of your rotor, or your brake caliper. You're going to make sure you don't hit none of these. Never try that. You can sometimes put it in there, but it ain't going to fit. So what you need to do is go over top of it. However you can do it. You just want to grab anywhere but them parts. Your bleeder, or you don't want to touch actual the other piece. Now you can do it. You can run this all the way in. If you ain't really familiar with this, I'll do that way. You can put it right on the lip too. So I'm going to show you the way a lot of people are going to try to do it. And you don't want to go real fast because some of the newer cars actually got sensors in them and they can set a sensor off. That's what they say. I don't know if it's true or not. But by me turning it, that's going in. That easy. You can see it, the space getting smaller. And if you turn it too quick, some of the older cars, you'll see it, you'll hear it on the ground. It'll come out on an overflow. You want to go all the way back to it. You can't press it no more. Don't try to force it. Where it's also flush there. It's getting close. And there it is. It's flush. Then just pull it, C-clamp back up. And I showed you on the other side how to take this off and put that on it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it. I'll put that together. And then we'll work on the oil change. Okay, when you tighten your lugs up, you want to do a star pattern on this. On a 4-cylinder, you really can't do that. So just tighten one side up, go straight across. On a 5-lug, you go here, here, up here, there, and there. Remember, this is not tightening them. It's just snugging them good so I can let the pressure down to tighten them. This contraption was not made to tighten. It'll over tighten. That's why you just snug it. Alright, we're going to start on the oil change. Okay, now we're on the oil change. First things first you want to do on the oil change. We had it running. Something dropped. Oh, I had to run. You want to come in here and get rid of the oil cap. Number one things. You can leave it like that or whatever. You want that open. You want an air vent. Alright, I got my air vent started. These used to be a lot cheaper. These are nice just for the do-it-yourselfer like me. All you do is pop the valve, pop that first. Take that off. You're going to put it under the car to drain the oil. Now this tool right here, a creeper, it's going to cost you a little bit. But if you go to auction stuff, you can get them for like $5, $10. No one wants them anymore. A lot of people got the big list. But you see, we're doing all this in the driveway. I'm not actually under the car. Because if I was under the car, I'd have jack stands. And let's see if I can pop this loose. I know I'm under the car now, guys. Alright, pop it loose. drain the oil. I'm actually gonna jack that side up a little bit more.
Get over here. Janae.
There it goes. That way it's just going to drain more over to that side. The car wasn't level. By not taking that cap off up top that I showed you, the oil cap, you can actually put an airlock in that. Just like a straw, you put your finger on a straw and something, pull it up. It won't take all the oil out. So we're going to let that drain. Let it drain for a while till you see it barely dripping out. If you have time not, make sure it's out. And this oil, you can see somewhere right there, ain't too bad. When it's really dark and black or coming out in clumps, you know that you haven't done an oil change in a while. Not good. Alright, we got another little tool we can show you. These actually came from Sears, but you can get these at Harbor Freight or wherever. They didn't have a Harbor Freight at the time I bought these down where I got it. I needed them. If I turn this whatever way, if you're loosening it, it'll turn it, it grabs the actual oil filter. It spins it off. Don't ever tighten it with one of these. You'll damage the oil filter. You want to make sure when you turn that, it's on the oil filter. Don't put it on something else. A lot of these new motors are cast aluminum, and they will break. Alright, you got your new oil filter. This is a teeny thing because this is a 1.5 motor. These things are expensive now. Close to $7 for that little thing. Then what you're going to do is take some old oil, new oil. It does not matter. And you're going to oil the rubber. And only the rubber. That's all you need.
Yeah, there, Shanae.
Yes, I got someone walking if you see it in the camera. You put that back on, and you should be able to screw it on with your hand. If you can't screw it on with your hand, you didn't do something right. Should be able to screw that in and tighten it, snug it up, and you want to snug it up just with your hand. If you don't think you're strong enough, get your neighbor or someone else to help you. That builds the pressure up and gets even tighter. That's it. And then one of the last things, make sure you put your drain plug back in. I'm going to show you a trick on this too. If you're not thinking you're putting your drain plug in tight enough or something, or for some reason your drain plug keeps on coming loose, or you think it's coming loose, because you really can't tell unless you do this next little trick. And yes, I got it's like little drips coming out. You want to make sure it's all out, remember. All the oil you can get out of the motor, the better. The pressure. And usually oil pan drain plugs are 10 inch pounds or torque pounds. So you want to make sure it's tight. Alright. I got it tight, and I know I was under the car, and I told you not to do. Don't do the stuff that I do. Unless you got jack stands. You're on the safe side. So we got everything done except putting the oil in, and I'm going to show you something else. And did an oil change, looks like brakes and everything in less than an hour. This next thing, you're going to think I'm crazy. They make a pin for this, or you can buy pins. I went to the Dollar Tree with some friends, bought this. This is fingernail polish. Same thing as paint. You hear a lot of people out there touching their car up with it. I got someone who wants this, so I don't want to ruin the brush. Now, if I was just going to keep it in my drawer, it wouldn't bother me. So, I'm going to try to shake it up. Alright. Then, I'm going to take it and put 2 dabs on my finger. Try to. Or put some on my finger. Just like that. Now, I'm going to try to put this back without losing the stuff that's on my finger, because it's pretty thick. Now I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to put 2 dabs, one on the actual nut for the oil drain, and one right aside, straight across. Or make a little line, or whatever I can do. Alright, and that's what I did. I would show you, but you probably can't see it that great, but I took the nut. I'll say this is the nut. I put one right on the nut right here. Now put one right on the actual oil pan. 2 drops are all lined. That way you can tell next time you go do your oil change if that nut back loose or everything. It's lined up. Alright. And by doing that, what it cost you, $1? Oh. You could probably get some old change out of your couch, your sofa, love seat, anywhere, you probably buy it. Or your sister, your mom, or anybody might even have some. But I went green. You don't want to go a dark color, you want to go a real light color. I wanted actually white. Could not find any white, so that's what we got. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and let the jacks down. I'm going to let them down slow. Well, letting the jacks down too fast can actually damage your car too. Alright. Then we're just going to go up here and fill it up. I know that looks filthy in there. This motor has 212,000 miles. So let's see if I can make you guys taller so you can see what I'm doing. I know I'm going to spin you around a lot for a second here. And another topic we're going to talk about while we're doing this. If you look in here, you got noise. You got your engine here and transmission here. Sometimes the engine's there, transmission there, whatever, however, or the motor goes this way. If you're not for sure what the drain plug is on your engine or your motor, don't do your oil. I worked at a big name place, and where they do oil changes and all that stuff. Because I mean, I learned a lot, but and tires and all that stuff. That's why I do my own tires here. On that, that's like $50. But anyway, I came back to get some stereo wire one night. I was building a stereo, and they said, "I'm glad you stopped here." I'm like, "Why?" They took this car out of blah blah. I don't want to say names. Drove around and it stopped. I'm like, "Huh? Why is that?" Well, a so-called idiot, he didn't know what he was doing. They hired him. He went over to the transmission side here. It was transmission. Went underneath. You can't tell sometimes. And some transmissions, some Subaru transmissions have their own oil filter. Took the oil filter off and drained all the oil out of the transmission. Then come up to the top, because he knew where that was, and double filled the motor. Started up, drove it around, not even 50 feet, and it stopped. So I come in, checked it out. I come back, I went to the Ford place. That's when Ford and them were all together, and I got all the right, correct fluids and all that stuff for it and put it back together. But they already messed the transmission up. It cost them close to $750 to get it done, to get it reflushed, because they didn't drive it. They only drove like 50 feet, but it still had to be flushed. So be careful. If you don't know what you're doing when you're underneath, ask someone or get someone else to do it. But it's not that hard. Just make sure you drain the right fluid. And usually transmission fluid is going to be a red color. Alright, we're going to go ahead and take care of this. I'm going to drag you up even higher. I'm going to lock you in and I'm going to lean you forwards. Alright, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to go get my funnel that I like to use. Alright, I got my funnel. I had a really good one at one time and disappeared. But I took this one. It was made like this. I think you might have got this at Walmart. Well, I shaved it down. You could use sandpaper, whatever, and shave it. You just don't want to shave where it's anything breaking off. Make sure not. And then what it does, if you get the right type, it fit right in there. Now it will move a little bit, but it will fit in there. Now we're going to teach you how to pour your oil. There's a lot of myths out there about putting oil in a car too. I couldn't tell you what all of them are because there's probably millions of them, but the way I do it, and I think the proper way they made to do it, a lot of people grab it just like this. And this is what they do. You hear that going bump, 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 bump. If you can do it, grab it from the side and the side, or side and the bottom. That turns in halfway, and look how much I can crank it. It lets air into it. No. And on this car, you went 4.5. Now this might not be your brand you use. It really don't matter. I just do not like using Quaker State. That's my preference. I got it down to one quart, so I'm gonna put a little bit more, not a lot, because there's a little bit still in the motor probably. Put the cap on it. We're going to start it up and check release. Big thing, make sure you put your cap on. Now let's set the filter right down in the jug. I drop a couple of drops, ain't or anything. Make sure the cap is on. Because some cars, small block Chevys and stuff, it could be open, and when you do it, the oil goes flying. This is another myth that you're going to run in. Some people would already shut that off. Don't put a rag down there either, but I'm doing it. You grab that belt. Leave it run for at least like 60 seconds a minute. Let it build that pressure up. When you got pressure, that's when you're going to have your leak. Then you're going to go underneath, like I'm doing right now, and look. I see no leaks. While I'm checking the oil, I'm checking everything else. I know it's filthy under here, so I'm looking for frayed wires, frayed anything could be bad. While you're doing it, check it out. And here's another mistake that people make. Let me see if I can show you real quick. We'll come over here and grab this real quick. Pull it out and check it. Let's see if I did it quick enough. Actually, I did because it's up in here or whatever. Don't do that. Let the oil settle. That oil's still, some of it's still on top of the motor. Let that settle down. If you have to, shake your car, or whatever, make sure it's, whatever you got, whatever makes you happy. But let the oil settle. Settle down to the pan. That should be good. Make sure you clean it. Some of these are really hard to read. You do not want to paint it. I've seen people paint these and everything else. And it might show good on the first side. Then you want to flip it over and make sure it's about the same on the other side. Let me get a light and see if we can show you. It's a nice time to do this, but you guys can't see. You can see it's all up here because it's went up to 2, but looks like it's right here. And then you're gonna flip it over and make sure. And it looks like it's right, but it doesn't hurt to check it again. Just let it settle down a little more. You can see it. It's right there. The other side's a little more. Don't ever go by the higher side. Go by the lower side. Because when you're scraping that down in there, you're scraping oil on that. So, that's it. That's all you got to do an oil change. And we did that without me stopping and showing you. If I did it by myself, it would have probably took me roughly 35 minutes. Brakes, now, you ain't gonna be that quick to start off, and some things are a lot harder. They were pretty easy. But less than an hour sitting here today. We did an oil change, checked everything out. I see it's good, and we did a brake job. So if you like this type of video, give me a thumbs up. You didn't, thumbs down. Please subscribe, and bye till later.